Hello, everyone. Hey, everybody. So my name is Addye Buckley-Burnell. I am the Associate Director of Career Development. Hello, everyone. All right. So here's what was going to happen today. We are going to be covering all sorts of information about salary negotiation, and we are going to make sure that we are covering the gamut. All right. So stay tuned with me. Hang on. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have and make sure that we are good to go. All right. So let's go ahead and get this show on the road. Bear with me. We are going to go here. All right, here we go. So let's see what we're looking at here. We are going to be talking all right. Where are we working? All right. So here we go. Well, here we actually go. We're going to be talking all sorts of stuff about salary negotiation, guys. So when we talk about salary negotiation, I want you to realize that there's more to it than just simply what is your pay. And so we're going to go step by step through this process of making sure you know exactly what you need to be looking for and exactly what you need to know what the correct salary might be for your situation. So to do that, we are going to go through a lot of good resources today. Hopefully everyone is going to be able to hear me all right, and we'll be so prepared for this entire experience. All right. These are the things we're going to talk about. Why we need to negotiate, how we need to negotiate, and of course, making sure that we know the steps that we have to take to negotiate effectively. So we will make sure that we hit on all of these key elements. And as things come in, please, please, please let me know if you have questions. All right. But why do we need to negotiate? I think that's pretty simple. You know, I want to make sure that we know this, but of course, the idea of negotiating is fully based on the concept of pay is not equal. We know that there are elements of this entire process that are not going to be equating. So let's make sure that we're thinking about what this looks like for each person that we talk to. We've heard the statistics about women making 80 cents on the dollar to what white male counterparts make, but it doesn't even equate fully to every population. So for every $1 a white male makes, we are seeing here that that does not always equate. Asian males make a little bit more, Asian women make a little bit less, white women make a little bit less, Black men make a little bit less, and so on. So keep this in mind that it is not just a statement of certain people make less, it's that everybody makes disproportionate amounts. And that's really an important piece for us all to remember. Even if you are not among those who are making less, even if you are a white male, you can probably still want to be making more, right? We all want to be making what we want to be making. We all need to be making a livable wage. And when it comes to your first job, your second job, your third job, that livable wage will change in time. Your wage may also not be the full view of what you need to be looking at. And so keep these things in mind as you're moving forward. You know, that 80 cents on the dollar changes up. You know, it's important for us to realize that that is not always going to be the same. And statistically speaking, that is stuff that will be important when we are evaluating options. So we know we all want to be making a little bit more money. Now, that little bit more money can change up dramatically depending on your situation. Let me take a sip of my tea here. All right, so when we're talking about making more money, that little bit more at the beginning can make a huge difference going forward, right? So for instance, this situation, let's say you are being offered a job at $40,000. Now, $40,000 starting salary is not about starting salary. That's not, nothing to scoff at. But if we were to negotiate just a little bit higher, let's say to $42,000, $2,000 over a course of a year is not dramatic. All right. When we think about $2,000 spread over 12 months, That's not a huge difference each month. However, it adds up dramatically over time. So when we think about $2,000 difference in just that starting salary, and we think about the just basic cost of living increases that many employers give their employees, 4% cost of living increase each year. And that's not even with regarding promotions or anything else that may play into this. Just that $2,000 equates to almost $27,000 over 10 years. Now, I don't know about you, but there's a whole lot of things I could be doing with $27,000. And so consider this, if you are leaving that money on the table, if you're not even asking for it, you may be giving up a lot more in the end game. And so even for that first job, it's worth trying to negotiate just a little bit more than what you are currently making. And if you watched our financial presentation this week, we know that that $2,000, if you had $2,000 more in your salary that you could invest in a matching retirement fund, in anything, you're going to be far better off when you are looking to retire or looking to build your net worth in the long run. So definitely, we know it's important to negotiate. The problem is how, why, when? There's so many questions that play into this, and most students tell me that they don't really feel secure or confident enough to negotiate their first salary. So let's break it down. Let's take all the mystery out of this, because we need to know how to do this and how to do it confidently to be able to move forward. So let's break it down for us today. First step, we need to know our value. That is going to be the first step in this process. Is we need to know what we should be making. We need to know what is the industry standard, okay? We need to know what we need to live, all right? So we need to know our value. We need to know what it takes to live the lifestyle that we are accustomed. That way we can set our target salary and understand our benefits. We need to know our audience. What is negotiable? What is the standard for this industry? We need a strategy. Don't go into this willy-nilly. Don't go into this just figuring it out as you go. Have a strategy in place. And of course, practice. You cannot go into a salary negotiation feeling unconfident. You cannot go into a salary negotiation fumbling over your words or sounding as if you don't believe that you are worth what you're looking at. You need to feel confident. You need to be prepared to counteract what may come from the discussion. So let's start with number one, benchmark salary and benefits. What it means to benchmark salary and benefits is to have a clearer understanding of what other people are making in that same type of position. Now, there are a lot of ways to do that, and we're going to talk about them in just a moment. But we need to understand salary requirements or expectations. We need to be realistic in what those are. You cannot expect the same salary or your salary to look the same as someone in a completely different industry. You cannot expect your salary to look the same in two areas of the country even, all right? So when we think about salary, we not only need to know what is industry standard, we also need to know what is realistic for our specific type of position, with our specific degree type, with the specifics of the city and state in which we are looking to live. So for instance, my job would look very different as far as being a pay in Auburn, Alabama, than it would in New York City, than it would in Los Angeles, than it would in Charlotte, North Carolina. These are different areas of the country. They are going to have very different costs of living, and therefore the salaries will look very different. So you cannot compare them the same way. So I'm going to give you some resources today to understand what is realistic here. Identifying that range, identifying a realistic budget will be part of that process. And then, of course, working through the process of assessing your benefits and knowing how to negotiate them in addition to your salary. All right, so starting off with a couple of great resources here. We are going to be looking at salary.com. We are going to be looking at glassdoor.com and the NACE salary calculator to help us in understanding what will be a realistic starting value. All right. So let's go ahead and bring some of these to the forefront now. When I'm looking at what is a realistic starting value, we're going to want to see some of these different pieces. So take a look right here. Now, what we are looking at is going to be my actual LinkedIn profile. And this is one of the places that we're going to look at salary information. All right. LinkedIn has developed some great tools to help you in understanding what is realistic for salary and understanding what is going to be appropriate depending on where you're going. So I want you to play with this tool a little bit. There's some really cool elements, lots of fun things you can do on LinkedIn, but let's talk a salary. Okay. So if you go to the jobs tab and you go to the salary tab, you can do a lot of great salary research to understand what would be appropriate. Okay, so let's just play with this a little bit. Let's say I'm going into public relations. Let's say I'm going into public relations. Now I can say in the United States, cool. Let's get an idea of what public relations positions make in the United States. Now, of course, there are different levels here. So let's go into coordinator. You know, that's going to be somebody who's going to be more of an entry-level position in public relations. And what we are looking here is going to be in the United States, so all of the states combined, the bottom 10% of earners and the top 10%. And then, of course, what is the median? What is the exact midpoint? Now, this is the entire United States. This is in all industries and all levels of experience with this job title. So let's get more specific. I want to say PR in a nonprofit, okay? Because that's going to be a little different than PR in a very much for-profit Fortune 500 company, all right? So now we are looking at a different median. Now we can also throw in some more specific information as far as size of organization, the location, as you see, it ranges dramatically, all right? And it gives us some more specialized information going forward. So this is one of the tools I want you to play with to get a better concept of what a realistic salary may be. Another general tool is going to be the the salary.com resource. If you go to the What Am I Worth title, you can put in that public relations again. And now we're going to give in location, let's say in Atlanta, Georgia. Now this is going to give us some specific information to that region. Again, we're going to see some different titles: director, manager, assistant, consultant. Okay, so let's say specialist. The salary. Now this one will send you to an ad page. Don't get suckered into the ad. Let's just go past the ad here. View salary and benefits. And you're going to see information. So we have the bell curve, bottom 10%, top 10%. And again, remember we were looking in Atlanta, Georgia. Now you can plug in some additional pieces here. You can see what some of the benefits would look like. Freezing up on me a little bit here. You can look at benefits, salary plus benefits. All right. And this is a really nice tool to allow for you to get a concept of what benefits might look like. I apologize. Being a little finicky on me today. Great tool to understand the benefits piece that plays into this. So we can see many people are getting some additional benefit elements, bonuses, disability pension. All right. Pensions are something that are not always offered. Typically health insurance is, but all health insurance isn't going to be equal. And so definitely things you'll want to explore more, but this can give you some concept of what may be industry related for you. Getting more specific, we could look at Glassdoor.com, and Glassdoor is going to give you anonymous reviews of organizations from people who either currently or previously worked there. So looking at the salary, you can see people within a specific organization or an area, all right? So relations assistant, Auburn, okay? Yeah. And it gives you specifics from specific organizations and oftentimes in different locations. So that's really helpful for you to see, not to mention getting reviews of people who work there or interview information, all good stuff. And this too is going to have an option of kind of comparing different positions as well. And last, but certainly not least, we have this amazing tool on our website. If you go to the student page of our website, you're going to see lots of great information, including our salary calculator. And our salary calculator is an amazing tool that will let you put in things like the job title, where you're wanting to be living. So let's go to that Atlanta, Georgia again. Now this is going to go into specifics as far as how much experience you have, how much education you have, where you went to school, all right? So you get credit for going to Auburn. And what it is going to be pulling. So it may or may not have your actual degree title, and that's okay. Go with something similar. Retrieve results. And from here, it's going to give you that bell curve, bottom 10% to top 10%. Now, based off of your specific information, it will let you know what a realistic salary might be for your specific situation. And so this is just an incredibly helpful tool for you to understand what others are making out of the over 4,000 people surveyed in that specific area, with that specific title. This will let you know what is realistic. Okay, so we now know what is realistic for a industry, company, location type information. Now, if for some reason we're looking for a location that's not listed here and we still want to know what it might translate to, that is where things like a cost of living index can be incredibly helpful. Again, we link to this on our page, and this allows for you to see, if I can look it up for maybe Georgia. Okay, but maybe not for somewhere else. Let's say I want to go to Birmingham, and I'm making if it tells me that $50,000 is realistic, what would that equate to in Birmingham? And it tells me. So, 50,000 in Atlanta may not be as realistic in Birmingham, but could give me the same living capabilities in Birmingham as 41,000. And so that's a really good thing for you to realize, is that cost of living may impact the amount, but you may be able to do the same amount of living with a lower salary. So keep these things in mind as you move forward. All right, so we now know what is a realistic industry-specific salary. So write this stuff down. The next step is going to be understanding what it takes to live the lifestyle we are accustomed. Now, some of you have been paying your bills. Some of you have a very clear understanding of what it means to be living in an apartment, in a home where you know what everything costs. Perfect. Use that as your frame of reference. What does it cost to live the lifestyle you are accustomed? Many of you, however, have not had that experience. You may have somebody helping you out with some of your bills. You may not have ever seen one of your bills. And for those of you who are in that situation, getting a realistic view of what reality looks like will be helpful for you in moving forward. So let's talk about how we can find that out. We are going to want to look at some other resources. Now, one of my favorite resources here for this is going to be called a reality check. And I apologize, I'm minimizing my screen so I can pull it up. There we go. Now, the reality check tool is a very, very helpful tool. However, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm using this in a different state because it isn't currently offered in Alabama. So we're going to do a little bit of a hack to make this work for us in our specific situation. Now, we're going to use the guest login. Now, when we use the guest login, it is going to prompt us to give a city and state. I'm from Missouri, so it's easy for me to do this. But for those of you who are not, I'm going to give you some ones to plug in. You plug in St. Louis, and one of the zip codes in St. Louis is 63119. Okay, 63119. Okay, my name. There you go. Now, if you go up to assessments and over here to reality check, this is going to bring you to this really cool tool that lets you start a reality check. Now, there's other things out there that do similar things, but this is my favorite because it really kind of walks you through what it would take to live what you're expecting. Okay, so let's break it down. St. Louis is where I'm going to put in because, again, my familiarity. Think of St. Louis as very similar as cost of living or as a location as a place like Birmingham. All right. So that can be kind of your equating factor. So if you put in St. Louis and hit next, it's going to walk you through different aspects. So what kind of housing are you expecting to live in? Now, if you already have an apartment set up or something or know an amount, plug it in. But it gives you some realistic idea as far as what apartments cost and so on. I'm thinking, let's go for a 2-bedroom apartment. I'd like a little extra space. Well, I know I'm going to be needing some electricity. I know I need water. I'm thinking the apartment will probably pay for trash. So probably water and electricity is a safe bet. I'm very lucky. I'm going to stay on my parents' cell phone plan, but just going to get an idea of what that would cost. I know I need internet. And parents of cable. Yeah, I'm not much of a cook. Let's go ahead and do a combo. Eat out, eat in. Well, I know I'm going to need cars. So this is going to be gas, insurance, car payments. All right. Throw that in there. No, I do like to shop. Let's throw some clothes in there. I'm planning on getting my insurance through work. Now, depending on the insurance packages at work, I'm going to go ahead and give myself a little extra to work with here. So in case I want to up my insurances, maybe get some cancer insurance in there, I want to make sure I have that covered. And I definitely want to be having a good time. Let's throw in this, getting hair done, makeup done, whatever. All right, so throwing in some of these fun things here. I know I definitely want to go on trips. I'm definitely going to have a dog. That's non-negotiable. And I also have a little bit of, student loan debt I'm going to have to pay off when I'm done. Now I'm told I need to be saving. So if people tell me I should be saving 10%, I'm going to go ahead and put that in there, see how much I should be making. All right. So I just added up all the things that I have just said that I would be paying for every month. All right. So not an actual bill, but it's pretty close. That means my monthly expenses are coming up to be about $4,000 and $4,026. That means annually my expenses account for $48,000. Okay. Well, we looked at the amount, it said about 50,000. So, that might be doable. But then comes in the tricky parts, taxes. Okay. So what we're thinking about here is that if I'm making, remember we looked at that $50,000 amount. I'm expecting about $50,000 based off of the industry information I looked at. Well, $50,000 isn't really taking home $50,000. We know that we have taxes. We know we have FICA. We know we have all that fun stuff that comes out of every tax, right? State and local taxes, or federal and state taxes, I mean. We are going to have all that taken out. So in reality, I would need to be making $59,000 to live the lifestyle that I just talked about. So that means one of two things. If I would be needing $59,000 to live the lifestyle I've indicated, yet I can realistically be expecting about $50,000 for the job I want, two things have to be assured. Either I need to cut back on my living expenses to live the lifestyle I would like to be living, or I'm sorry, cut back on my living expenses to have the job I would like to be having and be able to pay my bills and not go into debt. Or I need to get a different job that I may not love as much, but may pay more. And so these are the things that you are going to consistently be balancing throughout your life. Do I want a job that it may not be my dream job that pays me more? Or do I want to live the lifestyle I want? Or do I want my dream job and may live a little bit less extravagantly? There is no right or wrong here, and this is not a judgment. This is simply telling you that those are the types of things you're going to have to negotiate over time. And in order to live a life that you are going to be happy in, you're going to have some sort of budget to accommodate that. So this gives you a little bit of an idea as far as what you could be expecting based on that lifestyle. And if you're expecting this in a different area of the country, you'll simply plug it back into that cost of living calculator I showed you. Okay. All right. Go to that cost of living calculator. So I just found out if I plugged in St. Louis, remember? Okay, wait, letting me do anything. Yeah, I'll say St. Louis, Missouri. I want to live in Safety Fund. All right. And again, remember, expecting that salary, or if I was saying it would cost me about 59,000. Well, if I was moving to Tucson, that 59,000 turns into 65,000 very quickly. All right. So that's fun stuff that we got to constantly be thinking about. And although it can be very frustrating, we have to be accommodating that. We have to know what is realistic and how can we continue the lifestyle we are talking about. So these are some of the pieces that we play into this. These are some of the pieces that you're going to be looking at throughout time. So play with those fun resources to help you get there. Play with those resources to help you understand. And remember, those pieces of your paycheck that come out will come out. So, of course, the taxes, of course, anything is included with retirement funds. Some places will require you to have retirement funds come out. Supplemental insurances, that stuff accounts for a good deal, all right? And once you have a family, it accounts for even more. So you may only be taking home 63% of your net earnings based on it. So factor that in as you are planning, okay? Now, good realistic budget to keep in mind. You'll hear lots of different budgets. 50, 20, 30 is a very common one, all right? So 50% of your budget should account for your essentials. That means your home, your essential bills, food, electricity, those are essential. 20% should go to your financial obligations or investments. So think about that as things like paying off debt, credit cards, paying off bills, or if you're wanting to invest, think about putting some of that investment piece. And then of course, 30% could go to flexible spending, your funds, your wants, your Netflix, your vacations, that kind of stuff. So this is a realistic view that you can look at. There's many different versions out there, but it's one of those options. Right, so once we know what is industry common and what our budget will account for, we need to be thinking about that range. What is industry common and what our budget should account for? Your target salary should be around about that point, okay? So what is realistic, what we can live on, that should be the base of our target salary range, right? What I mean by that is that that needs to be the bottom of the target salary. What most people do is say, that's what I want to make. So I'm going to put that in the middle of my range that I might give an employer. And that's not an ideal situation, because if they don't come to you as a full bargaining midpoint, you want to still be able to live. You want to still be able to be making that. So have that base and move upward, no more than 20%. So if we are saying that $60,000 is what we were expecting, or here, we'll go $50,000. That's a nice round number. If we're saying $50,000 is what we are expecting and what we can live off of, you would say my target salary range is 50,000 to 20% of that would be 10,000, 60,000. So 50,000 to $60,000 would be the range I would give to an employer. All right. You need to be able to state that confidently with supporting evidence of your experience, your education, what you are bringing to the table to be able to sell this, to create your actual bargaining, articulate your bargaining. So if it was a situation where I was starting off, I was just been given a job offer, my might look a little different. If it is a situation where I'm looking for a pay increase, a promotion, it will look a little different. So we need to articulate it accordingly. One way you can, and this is by no means your only statement you can use, but one statement you could use would be, as a result of my effort to blank, I have achieved blank, which provided the following specific benefits to my company. For that reason, I believe I deserve an increase in my pay to accommodate that, to reflect this new level of responsibility, or to reflect the contributions I have given to this organization. And my range would be closer in line with this. Now, if I was going for a new position, I might say, as a result of my effort to be as familiar and as experienced with the engineering field or the mechanical engineering field as I can be, I have achieved 3 rotations in a co-op for this organization and provided these specific benefits to whatever organization it is, okay? For that reason, I could expect to be contributing the same things to your organization and would expect a target salary range of 50,000 to 60,000. Okay, again, a little different with engineering than it would be for public relations. We have to make sure that target salary is specific to our industry, position title, and job title, and degree title. But that is the type of thing you might say. Now, if you have questions, please throw them in the chat. I'm happy to answer those. Now, when it comes to salary negotiations, that process will look different depending on the time period, depending on information about when it is that we are negotiating, what it is we are negotiating, and it always looks a little different. So keep all of this fun stuff in your forethought as you're going forward. When it comes to salary, we have to realize that it's not just a salary that we're negotiating. It is a salary or compensation package, okay? What a compensation package is actually going to be the concept of a full package of things that are being given to us by an employer that add to the value that I am taking from the experience, all right? So of course your pay is one of those. That's a very important one, but it's also your insurance, your flex time, your retirement plans, your investment opportunities, your fringe benefits, your maternity, paternity leave, your title options, your stock options, moving expenses, vacation, all of it fit into that compensation package. And they are not created equal, all right? Most people come out thinking that they're going to look very similar. They do not. Each organization has a different standard. Even something as simple as your health insurance will look very different. They may offer it everywhere, but your actual benefits, your co-pays, your out-of-pocket expenses will look very different. So pay attention to it. If you are planning to, in sometime in the near future, do anything, account for that as you're looking at these benefits. So for instance, if you are planning to eventually start a family, look for things like maternity, paternity leave. Look for things like assistance with adoption costs. Look for flexible times or schedules options that might help you in doing that more easily. If you are looking at potentially going back to school, look for tuition reimbursement, look for opportunities for professional development. The more that the organization is willing to invest in your future potential, the more likely it is that you're going to like this organization. And what I mean by that is that if they're willing to invest in your professional development, the conferences you attend, an education, a certificate, trainings, those are all things that you are accumulating during that time that are going to help you on the job, but also help you in your next step. If they're investing in your future, most likely it's an organization that cares about who you are and wants to keep you around. So that's something to consider as you are looking at options. If they have zero options for professional development, they may not be all that invested in your potential. Okay, so these are things that you might look for, but by no means is this an exhaustive list. There are companies that have free lunches that they provide every day. There are companies that provide free dry cleaning. I've actually visited an organization that had free dry cleaning that was delivered to your desk every day. Childcare options. I know somebody who actually has an organization that every 3 years you work at an organization, they give you a sabbatical that requires you to travel overseas for 2 months and they pay for the entire thing. Not too shabby. So consider this stuff. There's some cool places out there that really do care about their employees. So look at all of that. Now, remember, when you are negotiating, it may not simply be salary that you're negotiating. You also may see that salary is not negotiable. So some organizations only have a certain amount of money that they are allowed to pay or that is budgeted to pay for a position. So they may not be able to increase the salary. Now, something to consider with that, though, is that your salary and these benefits typically come out of different pools of money. So when they may not have any flexibility for salary, they may be able to negotiate some of those extra benefits instead. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. Now, they typically can't negotiate benefits like insurance. Insurance is purchased in bulk, so you can't typically piecemeal insurance in that way. And some organizations will also not do negotiation leave time. So things like sick leave or vacation leave that may not be as negotiable. However, the other stuff may be. So let's talk about that. You can typically negotiate salary. You can, if salary is not negotiable, you might be able to negotiate a performance review bump, some job title bumps, moving expenses, education benefits, and then of course remote options. That's been a relatively newer piece. Some organizations have always been open to remote work. Others, that might be a little bit more of a new concept. And so you have to see that the remote option may be on the table now, or it may not have in the past, which can be very convenient depending on your situation. Salary, of course. Performance review bumps. This is something that, if they can't negotiate a new salary, they may be willing to review your performance earlier to allow for you to get a pay increase earlier. So if they do performance reviews annually, they may be willing to move that up to 6 months, see how you're doing, and may be able to bump your pay a little sooner. And that's a very common thing to show that you've proven your ability. Job title, even if they're not able to financially give you a salary increase, they may be able to give you a job title increase. And that's a common one for promotion too. Unfortunately, not promotions may not always be built into a budget. And so for that reason, you may be able to negotiate getting a different title, which then could leverage into a better next position going forward. Even if the salary is no different, you might be able to leverage them. My first job, I was not able to negotiate a salary increase because that was not something that they could do. Instead, I negotiated my supervision and licensing fees. Over a 3-year time period, that cost thousands of dollars. And I was able to negotiate that in my first job to accommodate or to compensate that salary differential, and gave me a little bit of a boost. Moving expenses are oftentimes negotiable, and again, a different number. And some people will give you a check for $2,000. Others will have you send your actual receipt to reimburse it, so it doesn't look the same everywhere. And then, of course, that aspect of remote options. They may not be able to, pay for your moving expenses, but maybe they can have you work remote for the first, 6 months to allow for you to accumulate what you need to make that move somewhere else in the country. And that might be more able to be done now than ever before. So think about how those would work out for you. You need to know where it is most important to you now, and of course, moving forward. So understanding how benefits work, understanding what you need to live. These are the types of things you need to know before you get offered a salary. So what will happen when you are given an offer? It is typically done verbally. When you've gone through the entire experience of interviewing and all of that fun stuff, they will say, "We're thrilled to offer you this position. Here is what the salary would be. Here's what the benefits package might look like." And sometimes that's even online. Get all the details. When would the start date be? When would the benefits kick in? What is the salary? What kind of additional fringe benefits are on the table? Get all the details. And then you will say, "I so appreciate this offer. I need a little bit of time to think about this position and move forward. Might I get back to you in a week's time with a response?" This is incredibly common. You never ever expect somebody to accept or decline on the spot. Now, they may not be able to give you as much time to think about it, but nobody expects you to accept or decline on the spot. Instead, always ask for more time to think about it. That way, you have the room to negotiate. Even if they give you more money than you would have ever asked for, still ask for more time. Okay? So ask for some time to think about it. Then, when that time has run out, you call them or email them, or you set a meeting, whatever you prefer. And you say something along the lines of, "Thank you for your offer. I would very much like to work for your organization. In my research on similar positions and candidates with my qualifications of a bachelor's degree in this, a master's degree in this, a doctorate in this, and my experience in da 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 da, I was actually expecting a salary range closer to $50,000 to $60,000. Is this something we can negotiate?" All right. So you show interest, you show appreciation, You show your researched response, and then you come to them with the number. Okay. What you do not do is, oh, I appreciate your offer. I also just got an offer from XYZ organization and they're willing to pay me 75,000. What can you do for me? Okay. So what are the things I did wrong there? I said thank you, but not really authentically, right? All right. I just simply told them what somebody else was willing to offer me without me showing any real interest in this organization. And I'm expecting them to come to me and say, "Oh no, we want you. Come see us. We couldn't possibly find anyone else as good as you." Now, that element of confidence may be a little unfounded or seen as unfounded. So that's not the best way to approach this. That is a situation where somebody might come back and say, "Well, sounds like you should go with them." Okay. And so it typically is something that may backfire. Now, if I have received another offer, you can certainly bring that into the discussion, but just approach it differently. All right. So instead, I might say, I so appreciate your offer. I would really love to work for your organization. Your values very much align with mine. The mission very much resonates with me. I've been doing some research and I've also been given another offer from this organization for 75,000 instead of 70,000 you're offering me. I would really love to be in your organization. Is there any way that we might be able to negotiate the salary to make it more comparable so that I can accept this position? All right. So I started with appreciation, with some flattery. I mentioned that somebody else has offered this, but I want to work for you. That is a much more beneficial way of approaching it than the other because you're not going to come across as being pinning people against each other, more along the lines of being, I'm being open and truthful with you, and this is what I'm looking at. I, however, would prefer to work for you. Let's make this work. It's more of a compromise aspect, right? Now they might come back and say other things. You know, in the future, we can't give you more money right now, but in the future, there'll be opportunities for growth and raises. I would hope that would be the case, right? I would hope that when you're working for an organization, you're going to have the opportunity for raises or growth, right? So you might respond, have this prepared beforehand. Well, because this number is a little lower than I would feel comfortable with, I'd love to discuss opportunities for the future. I know one of the most important aspects of this role is this. So there might be a key matrix, it may be a project, it may be a new development. If I were to deliver that in this time period, would you be willing to raise my compensation to the amount that I'm talking about then? So if I'm able to make that key metrics in 6 months as opposed to a year, would you be willing to raise my compensation at that point? Right. So negotiating when that would happen at a sooner point to allow for a raise. All right. So then you would respond from there. They may say, unfortunately, there's just no room to negotiate. It's what's built into the budget. Okay. Once you've decided the benefits that you might be able to negotiate, that's what you need to focus on. All right. I understand at this point the salary is negotiable. I see that you have tuition reimbursement program that may not, take effect for a full year. Would it be possible for that to take effect earlier and you to actually sponsor my project management certification? This would benefit your organization this way, and it's something that I've been wanting to be working on. They might say, yes, that is something that we could definitely expedite. Okay, they could see the value in that. That's adding value to you as an employee. They may say, I don't have a budget for that high of a salary. That's not in our budget. All right. In that case, would you be willing to share what is in the budget? Okay. Can you share with me what increased funds are in the budget for next year? Okay. Would you be open to discuss an increase for me within the following year? Or, could we talk about some of the benefits that are non-monetary? Could I potentially be working from home to save the money on a commute? That's the type of stuff that you could bring into this discussion. Would you be able to help pay for my relocation? I absolutely understand the budget constraints. But with my work history, I've demonstrated success in saving companies money. If not now, do you think we can revisit this in 6 months for review? So instead of a year-long wait for a promotion or a review, can we review this in 6 months and hold them to this? All right. So these are just some of the ways that you could bring those up, some of the words that you could use. And remember, you never ask right away, or you never say yes or no right away. You always ask for time. You need to weigh your options. If you're negotiating between two people, two different organizations, weigh all of those benefits and what they actually equate to. And then once you're ready, respond verbally and in writing. Now, if it is accepting, a verbal acceptance, and then writing a letter stating everything you've agreed to. So when is the start date? What is the salary you've agreed to? Have they agreed to promote or look at a performance review in 6 months? Put it in that letter. Put it all in the letter, because then at least it's attached to your HR file if they are not holding their end of the bargain. Okay, that's the stuff that's important. If you have to say no, say so confidently. That just because somebody wants you to work for them does not mean you have to work for them. You need to be confident in what you need to live. You need to be confident in your abilities and your ability to contribute. And if they're not willing to pay you what you feel that you are worth, that is something you need to be okay with saying no to. So in saying so, you don't want to burn a bridge. I so appreciate this offer. I would really love to work for your organization. At this time in my life, I cannot agree to be paid what you're wanting to pay. And I so regret that. I would love to be considered for opportunities in the future. Okay, that's saying no in a polite way, appreciating their time and energy in the process, and not burning a bridge if you ever decide to actually apply there again. All right, and do so in writing. They'll need it for their HR file. All right, so that's all stuff that you need to be professional, courteous, respectful, but also confident in. You can't go into these discussions with your voice shaking, with a concept of you owe me this. You can't go into this with a concept of I hope they'll do it. No, you need to be confident in your ability. You are coming out with a degree. You're coming out with great experiences. And later on, you're also going to want to be able to ask for promotion later. And so those are things that you need to be confident in your concept. Now, when you're asking for promotion when you already have a job, that's not something that you're going to want to compare yourself to someone else. That's not something that you're going to want to say, well, I've been here for 2 years, so I deserve to be promoted. Or, well, I heard that Susan's working, in the same job and she's making 5,000 more than me, and so I should be making that. That does not typically come across the way you want it to. Instead, come to them with evidence of your ability. I have been doing this. I'm not comparing myself to anyone else, but these are the things that I am achieving. These are the things I have contributed. These are the things that I have done to build my value and demonstrate my value to this organization. And based on that, I know I deserve this salary. What can we do? I don't want to look for a position in another organization. I would like to work and continue contributing to this organization. How can we keep me here? All right. That's the stuff that is going to be beneficial to you. So you need to always be prepared, always know your value, and be willing to discuss it. Now, this stuff is not always easy. And so that's why you want to be connected to the University Career Center. All right. We are going to be with you to help you with this until 5 years after you graduate. So what that means is that if you go off to grad school, if you go to your first job and you want a promotion or you want a new job, we can continue to help you in that process. So please reach out again. We are over in Mary Martin Hall in 303. You can visit us at career.auburn.edu and make sure that you stay connected with our office so that we can help you along the way. If you have questions, reach out. Otherwise, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Enjoy some